Ladies, gentlemen, and sword and shield users of all ages, with the Dreamspell Festival, and more importantly, specifically Arch-Tempered new Udra, arriving in Monster Hunter Wilds, we've gotten some really solid new equipment, and it is in fact enough to shake up the very top of the meta builds as far as things go, and so of course, today we're going to go over the new best builds for the Sword and Shield within this title update, so that you can bonk and slash your way through whatever you want to in whatever way you please. That said, today we'll be going over three main builds, which are the best overall build for the weapon right now as far as effective raw calculations, the best build that you can get without relying on latent power as a skill, as latent power is something that a lot of people just really dislike using, so we'll give you the option to not use it and tell you what you'll get from that, and we'll talk about how much weaker that is in comparison. Then our third build is for people who really don't like using Counterstrike as a skill. The funny thing is, because of the way that the new equipment works, even the build that doesn't actively seek out Counterstrike in any way is best done in a way where it still ends up with 2 ranks of the skill regardless, so no matter what, you're going to be having Counterstrike now, you have to deal with it. It's just a question of whether you want to fully invest in 3 ranks of the skill, or only take the 2 ranks because you think you don't get hit often enough to make it worth it. And we will also have one final build as well at the end, which is the updated version of our support sword and shield build, as you guys seem to really enjoy the last one of those that we did. Of course, that was when Omega was the big main thing, but maybe you still want to fight Omega. Maybe you just got into the concept of being a support player after trying it with Omega and just want to continually upgrade it with the new equipment that we have this time, because it has been improved offensively quite a bit within this update too. We will go through all of these sets, then we'll compare them as we go, and we'll talk about what to swap around, whether you have a Godroll Talisman or not. And importantly, of note, before we dive in here, the Omega multiplayer builds have actually just been immediately power crept out of the conversation. The new Udra chest is so strong that they just aren't really relevant anymore. First things first here, let's talk about your choice of weapon. There's not really anything new going on here. For the most part, you want to use artian weapons, specifically the element versions of artian weapons, with the element matching the weakness of your target. You want to construct it with 3 attack parts instead of the affinity parts, and then for reinforcement rolls, you have to go through RNG for this part, but the ideal setup would be 2 sharpness boost and 3 attack boost. 1 sharpness boost and 4 attack is also manageable, and does result in higher technical damage output in the short term, but I personally just find out that when I do play that way, I have to sharpen in the middle of combat way too often for my own liking, so 2 sharpness boost rolls is the sweet spot as far as I'm concerned. As for the talismans then, today I will be presenting all these builds and mathing them out using a Godroll Talisman that is 3 offensive guard, 1 weakness exploit, 1 weapon decoration slot, and an armor slot socket as well. This is essentially the Godroll for these setups. Master's Touch instead of offensive guard would be technically better because you get a bonus rank of a utility skill from your decorations, but this version means it can work with other weapons if the Artians ever get power crept. Either one of them is totally fine though. As well, the secondary skill can be weakness exploit or burst, and it would work perfectly for every one of the builds, and even if you did have agitator, it would only be slightly less powerful overall for one of the builds and would still be equal to the other skills for the other build, so it's still very good regardless. And we'll also cover any crafted talismans you can use to replace these for each build individually. Moving on then, let's get into our first set with the armor pieces themselves. This is the main build, the one that hits the highest EFR, and it uses latent power and Counterstrike to do so. Counterstrike is not an easy activation with sword and shield because we don't have an offset attack or a hyper armor attack, but it's so easy to get that skill now that even if you counted Counterstrike as being like 25% uptime, which is just abysmally low, it would still be worth using with our current gear. And I personally think it's much closer to 50% uptime for the average player on this weapon, which would make it twice as good as that. That said, Raidao Gamma Helmet, New Udra Gamma Chest Piece, Omega Gloves, Raidao Gamma Waist, and then Legiacris Legs. This gives us the Raidao 2-set bonus for longer latent power duration, and importantly, it also gives us the Lord Soul group bonus, which is just so strong. It does a number of things. 5% weapon attack increase is the main thing for our actual math, though worth noting that it comes at the cost of 5% defense decrease. But if you trigger the guts effect, it becomes a defense buff again anyways. For the talisman, you would want the Godroll that we talked about earlier ideally, 3 offensive guard or master's touch in the first skill slot, 1 weakness exploit or 1 burst in the second skill slot. For this build, if you don't have a good enough RNG talisman, the best replacement crafted talisman is just the one that has 2 ranks of weakness exploit. Then you would replace a weakness exploit decoration from our jewels with a bonus rank of agitator instead. For the mantle then, this offensively correct choice in this is always going to be corrupted mantle for any weapon pretty much. It gives you bonus damage pops, it gives you bonus attack, and bonus crit chance while it's active. It's just the only thing that directly passively boosts your damage. But personally, I will always stand up for Rocksteady Mantle. I think in its current state, it is just really, really strong. It gives you the ability to ignore flinches entirely, it gives you 60% damage reduction while it's active, and this means that you can just sort of go psycho axe killer mode, just swinging your weapon around while it's up. And importantly, you can also activate Counterstrike when you get hit while Rocksteady Mantle is active, so it's just also another way to easily activate that skill without it actually interrupting your damage flow. As for your decorations then, in the weapon, your priorities for weapon skills are 3 offensive guard, mastery, or any sort of sharpness skill instead, but master's touch is the best one for us, and then as much crit boost as you can fit in as well. So whatever combination of decorations that gets you that based on your talisman. My talisman has 3 offensive guard, so my weapon slots are master's touch and then 5 critical boosts. As for the armor decorations then, 1 tenderizer jewel to max out weakness exploit itself, so we have the full 5 ranks. Then we also take 2 throttle jewels to max out latent power, as that is also a very strong skill, 1 chain jewel for the first rank of burst, which is the most important part of that skill for raw weapons, 1 counter jewel for the final rank of Counterstrike, and then you have 1 1-slot socket to do with as you please, as well as whatever sockets happen to be on your talisman. For the 1-slot weapon socket then, if you have it, the best use really is 1 attack boost, but you can also use this for utility like 1 rank of guard, or guard up even, depending on the monster you're going to fight. The full list of skills on this one then is 5 critical boost, which ups the crit multiplier from 25% bonus damage up to 40% bonus damage, 3 ranks of offensive guard for a 15% increase to our weapon attack for a short duration after a well-timed guard. Sword and shield is probably the best weapon for keeping high uptime on this effect, as it has super short recovery animations on any attack and thus really fast access to the shield at any moment. So we can count this as just being like permanently active, at least while we are playing well. 1 attack boost just to use the weapon socket itself, master's touch, 5 weakness exploit, 5 latent power, 3 counterstrike, 3 maximum might, 3 divine blessing, 2 of which are for my socket choices, 1 agitator, 1 burst, 1 stamina surge, and then Ray Dao 2 set and Lord Soul group bonuses as well. As for the math for this set then, we're going to be using an Artian weapon with 3 attack reinforcements, which is 220 attack as a base. We increase that by 5% for the Lord Soul group bonus, and then we increase that total number by a further 15% for offensive guard 3. We then get plus 3 attack from attack boost 1, we've got agitator rank 1, which is 4 attack while the monster is enraged. We count agitator as 65% uptime, so an average of 2.6 attack gained from this. We then have 3 ranks of Counterstrike, which is 25 attack for 45 seconds after you take a hit that knocks you down. We'll be counting this as 50% uptime with this weapon, just so we can run off of the assumption that you get hit once every 90 seconds or so, which I don't think is more than average for most players. 50% of 25 is 12.5 attack, so that's our average increase from this. Then we have Burst rank 1, that is plus 5 attack after the first hit, and then plus 8 attack after 5 consecutive hits. Sword and shield is probably in the top 3 weapons for maintaining the full bonus of Burst, so we count this at its full value, and this puts us at 291.75 attack. The weapon itself has 5% affinity as a base, we have another 30% affinity when we attack softer body parts from 5 weakness exploit. Agitator rank 1 is 3% affinity while it's active, we count it at 65% uptime, which is 1.95% affinity on average. Latent power 5 is 50% affinity while it's active, we count this skill as 66% uptime, though realistically it might even be close to like 70 to 80% when you're doing really hard fights like the 9-star tempered monsters, but at the uptime that we're counting, it is 33% affinity on average. Then another 30% from 3 ranks of maximum might for a total of 99.95% affinity, which is nearly perfect. We have full 5 ranks of crit boost, which means critical hits are a 40% damage bonus over non-critical hits. With 99.95% affinity, that becomes an average damage increase of 39.98%. Apply that to our raw attack and we get 408.4, and then we also have that boosted by the white sharpness modifier, which is another 32% increase, up to a total effective raw of 539.1, which is not only notably higher than our previous best solo set, but also quite a bit higher than the multiplayer set that used 2 pieces of Omega before too. This is just flat out the best option if you aren't like vehemently against using latent power or Counterstrike. On that note though, if you don't mind Counterstrike but don't like relying on latent power's affinity to be such a high portion of your damage formula, that is what our second set today is for, so let's get into that one. Going a little bit faster for this one because we've already already explained a lot of the things that need explaining. The actual armor pieces are Raydao Gamma helmet and gloves, new Udra Gamma chest, Legiacris Beta waist and legs. The main other thing that this gives us other than raw skills is the Raydao 2-set bonus and the Lord Soul group bonus once again, but we now also get the Legiacris 2-set bonus, which is a pop of thunder damage every 50 seconds, and after that pop happens, you gain 15% affinity for 20 seconds. So essentially we're just counting this as 40% uptime on the affinity for the sake of our math. The talisman for this set then is going to be the same Godroll that we used for the first one, which is 3 ranks of offensive guard, or Master's Touch is also acceptable in the first slot, and then 1 rank of weakness exploit or 1 burst in the second skill slot, though Agitator would be an equivalent option for this build specifically. As far as what to do if you do not have a good RNG talisman, the best choice of crafted talisman for this build is the Agitator Charm for 2 ranks of Agitator, and then just take out 2 of the Agitator decorations and replace them with Tenderizers so you can hit the full 5 ranks of weakness exploit, which is very important to do. For the decorations on this one, the same weapon skills are a priority as before. You want 3 offensive guard, a sharpness skill, and 5 critical boost, ideally as well, between your offensive skill slots. For the armor slots then, 1 chain jewel for that first rank of burst because it's just very, very valuable. 4 challenger decorations to get 4 agitator, as it is also a very good skill. Then 1 mighty jewel to finish off maximum might, 1 counter jewel to finish off Counterstrike, and 2 1-slot sockets remaining to do whatever you want with, and as well the talisman sockets as leftovers as well. The full list of skills then is going to be 5 critical boost, 3 offensive guard, 1 attack boost, Master's Touch, 5 weakness exploit, 4 agitator, 3 Counterstrike, 3 maximum might, 3 divine blessing from my socket fillers, 2 evade extender, 1 latent power, just as a byproduct of the armor even though we weren't actively seeking that out, 1 stamina surge, and then Raydao 2-set bonus, Legiacris 2-set bonus, and the Lord Soul group bonus as well as a final bonus. For the math on this one then, we hit 265.65 from our percent increases up to 299.55 with our flat bonuses added on too. Our total affinity for this one puts us at 84.1% on average, and with full crit boost that is a 33.64% damage increase on average. Apply that to our raw and we hit 400.32, another 32% added on for white sharpness modifier for the final effective raw of 528.4. This is a little bit lower than our previous set, but not crazy lower if you just dislike using latent power. Then we get to our third build of the day, which uses latent power but limits dependency on Counterstrike, and to be clear, this still does end up with 2 Counterstrike in the set, but that's because it's just how the armor value works out for this really. If you really don't want any Counterstrike at all, the best trade you could make for that 2 Counterstrike is to evade extender if you want that, and that would be done by changing out the chest piece for Shia and the gloves for Raydao Gamma. That said, the version that I'm showing with the 2 Counterstrike, because I think it's the best, is Raydao Gamma helmet and waist, new Udra Gamma chest piece, Raydao Beta gloves of all things, and then Legiacris Beta pants. This gets us the Raydao 2-set bonus and the Lord Soul group bonus as well. For the talisman, it's the same one for this one as the other builds, and for this one, the first skill slot can either be Offensive Guard 3 or Master's Touch, that would be interchangeable as a Godroll, and second slot, any of Weakness Exploit, Burst, or Agitator are interchangeable. If you don't have a good RNG talisman for this one specifically, the best crafted one is either one of the Weakness Exploit or Agitator Charm. Both of them can work in this one, you just adjust your decorations accordingly. Both of them fit for the same skill list at the end though. For the decorations then, the weapon is the same as the other builds. We're aiming for 3 offensive guard, Master's Touch, and 5 critical boost across your various weapon skill slots. For your armor, you want 1 Tenderizer decoration to finish off Weakness Exploit to maximum ranks. You want 2 Challenger decorations to boost up the Agitator skill, 1 Chain decoration for the first rank of burst as well, as that's extremely important, and then you have 1 1-slot socket remaining in the armor to do with as you please. The full skill list for this one then is 5 critical boost, 3 offensive guard, 1 attack boost from my talisman socket, Master's Touch, 5 weakness exploit, 5 latent power, 3 maximum might, 2 agitator, 2 counterstrike, 2 divine blessing from my choice of socket fillers, 1 burst, 1 stamina surge, Raydao 2-set bonus, and the Lord Soul group bonus as well. For the math on this one then, let's first do it without counting any Counterstrike ranks at all, just to show how good this set is for a set that does not seek it out. We apply percent bonuses here, then flat bonuses brings up our raw to 281.85. For affinity, we hit a total average of 101.25%, so we overcap a little bit on average, but that also means that we just flat out get 40% bonus damage consistently because we always crit and have 5 crit boost. Apply that to the raw for 394.6, 32% increase to that for white sharpness modifier brings it up to 520.9 effective raw. This is really not bad at all by any means, still better than most builds before this update, and higher than some weapons even hit now in their best build. That said though, let's work in 2 ranks of Counterstrike, which are already part of the build. We're just adding it to the math, that would be 20 raw when it's active, but we're counting it at 50% uptime, so that's an extra 10 raw factored in, and the end value it hit when considering that in as well is 535.6 effective raw, which is actually only a bit shy of our main winning set, and the main reason is it's essentially the same skill list except you gain 1 rank of agitator at the cost of the final rank of Counterstrike. It's as simple as that. Then for our final build, this is our support build of the day, so the actual effective raw will be lower than all the others, but in return, our goal is to have full 5 ranks of wide range, full ranks of free meal, 1 rank of mushroomancer, and then 3 ranks of speed eating as well, as the core group of important support skills. Wide range makes your items affect other hunters, free meal gives you a chance to not consume when you use an item, the 1 rank of mushroomancer lets you eat blue mushrooms as a really fast animation that works like a bonus potion, and it works with wide range, and then speed eating makes the actual animations faster when using items. On top of this, we are building an honestly surprisingly effective offensive set to use alongside it, because support mentality in Monster Hunter isn't about pure healing, it's hit the monster consistently unless a moment arises where support would benefit the team, or things like using might pills when the monster goes into a trap or gets knocked down, or just stuff like that in general. That said, the armor set for this one is going to be Legiacris Beta Helmet and Waist, New Udra Gamma Chest, Raydao Gamma Gloves, and Duna Gamma Legs. The talisman is quite a unique one for this one. The Godroll would be either 3 offensive guard or Master's Touch in the first skill slot, then either 4 ranks of wide range in the second skill slot, or you could also get ones that are like 3 wide range in that skill slot and then also another skill, which is 1 rank of free meal or speed eating in the third skill slot, and those are all totally interchangeable too. And then you just want as many decoration slots as possible as well, so there's a lot of potential Godrolls that you could get for this build. That said, if you don't have the Godroll Talisman, you would want to use the crafted wide range talisman, which is 5 ranks of wide range straight up, and that is still quite solid. If you did that, the best choice would be from there to swap the helmet to be Raydao Gamma Helmet, to swap the arms to be Guardian Arkveld Beta Arms, and that would give you the extra 1 slot that you'd need to finish our support skills at the cost of losing the Legiacris 2-set bonus, but you don't lose anything other than that. For the decorations on this one, then, in your weapon is nearly the same as all the other builds that we've talked about today. The same 3 skills are the priority, but in a different order, being Sharpness skill, top priority, Critical Boost, second priority, and then Offensive Guard, third priority. Meaning without the Godroll Talisman, you would probably want to drop Offensive Guard for this, and that's just because if you are playing it as a support style build, you are definitely in multiplayer to begin with, so you will be targeted less than you would be in solo, and so you can't trigger it quite as consistently. Also, you will be purposefully avoiding the monster so you can heal or apply buffs sometimes, instead of trying to be in the thick of it and actively trying to block attacks. Offensive Guard is still great, it's definitely worth having regardless, but the value of it shifts because the uptime of it will be lower. For armor decorations, 1 Challenger decoration for just a little bit of extra agitator, 1 Counter Jewel to put Counterstrike up to rank 3, 3 Gobbler Jewels for 3 ranks of speed eating, 1 Chain Jewel for that 1 rank of burst, as that's quite important, 4 Tenderizer Jewels to push Weakness Exploit up to the full 5 ranks, then we've got 1 Fungiform Jewel for the singular Mushroomancer rank, 3 Satiated Jewels for full free meal, and then 1 singular Friendship Jewel needs to be in here as well just to get you to full wide range if you've got the Godroll Talisman, and this just gives you an absolutely fantastic skill list, which looks like 5 critical boost, 3 offensive guard, 1 attack boost from my weapon socket, Master's Touch, 5 weakness exploit, 5 wide range, 3 Counterstrike, 3 maximum might, 3 quick sheath, 3 speed eating, 3 free meal, 2 agitator, 2 evade extender, 1 burst, 1 mushroomancer, Legiacris 2-set bonus, and the Lord Soul group bonus as well. For the math, 220 weapon attack increased by our percent bonuses, and then we add our flat attack increases as well up to 294.4 raw attack. For affinity, we hit a total of 74.25% on average, which when applied to full ranks of crit boost is an average of 29.7% increased damage. Apply that to our raw attack total for 381.8, increased by a further 32% for the white sharpness modifier bonus, and we end up with an end effective raw of 503.9. So even the support set now breaks the 500 EFR barrier thanks to the new Udra Gamma chest piece, and for reference, this places it around 7% less damage output than our main winning set today. So you can either go full damage, or for multiplayer hunts you can choose to have 7% less damage more or less, but be able to both heal and apply buffs to your entire party of hunters frequently and easily, especially as Sword and Shield can do this without even having to sheath the weapon. As for how to play these setups in the game, it's actually nothing unusual at all, just typical Sword and and shield. Perfect guard, counter slash whenever you physically can just to keep the action going even when you're being attacked. Use fast attack infinite combos for general combat. Perfect rush when you actually have a moment to safely hit a weak body part for a few seconds. Falling bash the head when you can to build up stun. Otherwise just slap the thing until it dies. That just about does it for today then everyone. Our updated guide for sword and shield builds as of the Dreamspell Festival and the addition of arch-tempered new Udra equipment to the mix as well. I hope you've all enjoyed this and hopefully you enjoy using the builds in the game too. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.